Today I'm in Chicago, and I'm going to retrace the steps of two important mob figures, that of Al Capone and Sam Giancana. So come along with me. This is where the famous 1929 St. Valentine's Day Massacre took place. The building is no longer here now, but right behind this wrought iron fence, there was a place. It was a cartage company, and it was just a front for Bugs Moran's operation. And Al Capone tried to have him murdered here, and he murdered 7 of his people here. And it probably happened right about where that curve is in that light pole. That's where the famous wall is that you see all the pictures of. You can actually see this building in a lot of the photographs. You can see these columns. And then right across the street is where Al Capone had his lookouts, looking to know when Bugs Moran got in there and they made a mistake and he wasn't in there. It's actually a pizza place now. I was hoping to eat there, but I just don't want to wait that long. There's a line a mile long. Really supposed to be good pizza. This is where it all happened. It's the famous St. Valentine's Day Massacre of 1929. It kind of put Al Capone on a downward spiral after that. Well, right now I'm in Oak Park. I think it's called Oak Park. It's in Chicago. It's on Roosevelt Avenue. And behind these doors of this simple looking building here, probably some of the most influential decisions in the 1950s and 1960s were made by organized crime. This is a building that was at that time called the Armory, and it's where Sam Giancana had his offices. And Sam Giancana ran what's called the outfit. That's the mob in Chicago, and basically controlled the bulk of organized crime activity in the nation. He is responsible for getting John Kennedy elected, and I think he's also responsible for having him killed. I don't think there's a whole lot of doubt about that, but this is where his headquarters were. I was hoping that it had been a restaurant called Andrea's, and just about 6 months ago it burned up, and the same guy is opening it up again. It's going to be called Charlie's, but it's not open now, and they're in there working on it. I was hoping to be able to go in there and drink a cup of coffee or eat something there and actually see where Sam Giancana ran all his business from. I talked to one of the gentlemen here, and he's actually going to take me inside. They're redoing it, and boy, it's completely gutted. Yeah, but this is where everything was run back in the 50s and 60s. Really kind of neat to see. I was hoping to have a cup of coffee here or a sandwich, but not going to happen. So it was awful nice of that guy to let me go in there and just actually see inside there, and he just basically reinforced the idea that people don't realize what all went on behind these doors. And the big name celebrities that stroll through here, like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, and that that actually had ties with Sam Giancana. So that was kind of neat seeing the inside of this. Now I'm leaving the Armory right now, and just a few blocks from here is where Sam Giancana was, where his house was, and where he was actually murdered in 1975, just before he was supposed to testify for a Senate committee. Okay, we're arriving to the house where Sam Giancana was killed. This is where he lived for many years. It's right here. Right inside these doors is where he spent his life and where he was eventually murdered. It's just a fairly unassuming neighborhood, just an average neighborhood. But wow, how cool this is to be sitting here looking at this. He was found in the basement. Boy, if walls could talk. Here it is again. Wow, it's just amazing. Kind of a neat little house the way it's set up. But boy, the people that have probably been in there. And we couldn't not visit Al Capone's grave. And this is where a big portion of his family is buried. It looks like they've been doing some work here. They've got new sod in here. So you can see Al Capone's laid right there. There's flowers laying there. So right there is where Al lays, and his mother. And these are his brothers here. Ralph. Anyway, the entire Capone family is buried right here. This whole cemetery is just a who's who of crime figures. I mean, there's tons of them buried here. So Al Capone. Okay, I'm at Mount Carmel Cemetery in Chicago, and this is the gravesite of Sam Giancana. This is where he's laid to rest. I don't know if we're able to see in. Yeah, you can see in here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up very well, but that's him right there. One of the most powerful mob figures in the world. He called the shots in the 50s and 60s. Some people say that Tony Accardo actually still ran things and that Sam was his main guy, but I don't know, that's disputable. But here's where he's buried. He had affairs with Judith Exner, who also had an affair with John Kennedy during the same time. They were having an affair with this woman during the same time John Kennedy was president, and Sam Giancana was one of the most powerful mob people around, and they were both having an affair with the same woman. And he also was known for having a relationship with Phyllis McGuire, who was one of the McGuire sisters. And that would be like somebody to equate it to today, it would be like somebody having an affair with a mobster, having an affair with somebody like Taylor Swift or Phyllis McGuire was that popular, and they thought it would ruin her career, and I think it did stifle her career a little bit. She was called before the Senate, who was investigating organized crime, and questioned. But here's where old Sam's laid to rest. He's right behind this, right about where my hand is, right behind here. Now I am actually right across the highway from the cemetery that I was at where Al Capone is buried. And I'm at the graves of Tony Spilatro and his brother Michael. And Tony was made famous in the movie Casino. He was the Joe Pesci character, and he and his brother were murdered and buried in a cornfield in Indiana. But you can see this is where Tony is buried, and this is where Michael is buried. There's been a lot of talk that Tony was probably the one that actually killed Sam Giancana. It was never proven, but that's what a lot of the people speculated. He was a hothead and a crazy guy, and really made a lot of money for the mob over in Vegas. But here's where Tony lays. He's just over that direction is another cemetery. This is Queen of Heaven Cemetery, I believe is the name of it. It's another large Catholic cemetery. But it's just right across Roosevelt Road from where all the other mobsters are buried at Mount Carmel. Thank you so much for watching.